Hello everyone, my name is Ling, and I'm going to tell you about 5 tips of learning to become a multilingual. Okay, so first one is the benefit of being a multilingual. What is a multilingual? A multilingual is someone who speaks more than 2 languages. And because maybe your native language could count as one. For example, if you speak only 2 languages, you could be called as a bilingual. And
Bilingual.
yes, bilingual. And if you're a multilingual, if you speak more than 2 languages, you could be a multilingual. And there's some benefits of being a multilingual. First, it will help your brain to become healthier. Scientists have proved that being a multilingual, you can help to that your brain could defense from brain diseases up to 5 years. And I think that those 5 years, your brain could be really useful before getting sick. And secondly, your brain will get complex and engaged to different languages. And thirdly, the brain will work faster with language or with subject that require like different language or different pronunciation, something like that. And I want to show you today's 5 techniques to learn any languages. The first one is to make mistake, break your native language database. So it simply means that if you speak a different language, if you feel something wrong when you speak it, then don't be afraid, because that thing always happens when you're learning a new language. Secondly, you don't use the native alphabet when learning a new language. For example, French alphabet is different than English alphabet. Thirdly, you need to find a stickler, or maybe just simply need someone to help you to fix your mistakes. Fourthly, you should have shower conversation, which I will go deeper in that. And fifth, you have a buddy formula. And maybe there is a link for the video, 5 techniques of learning any language. You guys can go check out if you want to get specific. Okay, so the first one is speak a new language and feels wrong. Perfect. The reason for this is because let's take an example. You're learning let's say like you just said that you're learning French, for example, and the word I love you is je t'aime.
Je t'aime.
Yeah, actually it's actually not tame, it's te. It's like t. Yeah, I know you speak French, so maybe something is not really surprising, but for other people the word aim in the French word je t'aime, it sounds a bit weird. Like you're supposed to say like je t'aime or je t'aime, something like that. And like you understand that feeling that when you speak, when you pronounce a new word and you felt that feeling that it doesn't sound right. It's okay, because each language is different. French different than English, English different from Spanish, Spanish different from Portuguese, even though they belong nearly to the same country. So the first important thing is you have to be brave to step out of your knowledge zone and go beyond. Because if you're afraid to speak a new language because they just sound weird, then you could never learn a new language. Secondly, don't be afraid when you speak a new language or sound, because each language is different, and maybe American people won't be able to hear French English, but French people will feel the same way. French people will hear it like perfectly fine. So you don't need to be afraid, because each language is different. Next one is new language, new alphabet. Well, this one is a bit complicated. So I want everyone here to look at these 4 words that I got. And can you read out each word for me? Number 1.
Blazer.
Okay. Number 2.
Chair.
Number 3.
Casa.
And number 4.
Definitely don't know.
Oh, it's okay. So if you go through the English filter, you will got the word something like exist. And the first one, in that word blesser is a French word for hurt. And if you read the word blesser, you will saw something like someone like God, Jesus. Number second one, and chair is actually mean flesh, meat in French, and if you read it in English filter, it would just automatically mean chair. And the third one, casa. Well, I don't know what you guys think of, maybe a cast tape or maybe a cast playing, but I don't know. But it is a Spanish word for the word home. And the fourth word, well, if you don't know, it's actually a Chinese word for water, shuo. It's a word shuo for water. Well, I hope you get creative enough to use like some sort of like a modeling figure. I hope so. And maybe like, you see that new language means new alphabet, and they have different speaking and different meanings. So we can have some ideas that if you're wanting to speak a new language, don't speak that language through your American English filter. For example, you read the word, for example, let's just read the word casa for the word home. It's actually read casa. It's a casa, like it's like the word in casino, casa. And if you speak through the American English filter, they might don't understand because, and it's happened the same. If non-native English speaker learn English, you have to explain that. For example, the word though and the word saw, and the word saw, you have to just explain the difference, even though they look similar, they look nearly the same. They have to like, for example, like you have to explain those two different words. Then how would you explain the word so with the word sought, which, and it happens same with other languages. Second one is you need to learn to get rid of your normal speaking filter. For example, in French you read the rolled R but in English you don't read the word, like for example the word car, you just like car R, and but the R parrot sound. But in French you don't read the R sound like that. You mostly read R. So you need to get rid of your normal speaking filter, or for other native speakers, they won't understand. And the third one is to find someone to help your mistake, not to get away with it. With social media, you can find many helpers because you have Skype, you have Zoom, you have Facebook, you have your friends, your cousin, you have your family. So it's best you can find someone to help you to fix your pronunciation. That's really important because you remember how you learn a language. You learn to speak first, then you learn to write. So if you cannot speak right, then you might not be able to spell them correctly. So pronunciation is really important because you spend your entire life speaking more than writing. The pronunciation would be really important. Secondly, you need to answer your questions. For example, you studied a word at home and you still don't know why did they pronounce like that, or what does the word meaning and what is the difference between each different words. Then maybe that person or a tutor can help you to answer your questions, to open your knowledge about a different language. And the fourth one is shower conversation. So shower conversation is like, do you know that feeling when you practice your English or your other language, you just speak to yourself with the toys, or maybe make a role play, or by speaking English or on your own. That is a kind of shower conversation. Shower conversation helps you to practice your new language freely without getting embarrassed. Like if you speak by yourself with a new language in a public area, you will feel embarrassed because they would look at you and they would think that you're like having autism, or maybe they won't understand what you're saying. Maybe they think that you're cursing someone. And secondly, you can concentrate on your new language without stress, because if you was forced to learn to speak to practice a new word at school, you are more likely to get stressed because there's many people around you. You aren't freely to speak to practice your new language. And a shower conversation, you don't have to stay in a shower or take a bath. You can do it like every time. For example, talking to yourself or your toys. Well, I used to do that when I was little. Me and when my sister is when my sister is gone, I usually used to play with my doll and started to speak English all on my own. I would get my doll and making up a supermarket, and I was speaking English all on my own. So that's actually one way to practice my English, because I'd watch movies and I practice on my own. So I could feel free to speak whatever I want, and I don't have to force to study in one same topic. Or maybe speaking while in the subway. Well, in our country we don't have subways, but in the subway there's many people, and you can actually speak on your own because they will have their own problem, their own business to take care of. And the final one is a talking buddy. So this is a trick of how to find a perfect buddy formula. So that person could be literally anyone, but the most important thing is they need to speak the same language you're speaking, and they need to know the language you're studying. For example, if you want to practice Chinese, you need to find a friend that is learning to speak Chinese as well. If you want to learn English, then find someone who is able to learn to speak English. Because if you want to learn English and find someone who speaks Chinese, and that Chinese person doesn't know English, both of you won't understand each other, because English speaker cannot understand Chinese speaker cannot understand English, and that thing will cause a conflict. And secondly, it should be best if that person is someone close to you. For example, your friend, your teacher, your sister. Well, that's why it's best to have siblings, or maybe someone you know. And thirdly, they need to be at the same level with you, because you have that feeling when you're really good at something and you play with someone who's really bad at it. You have the feeling like whenever you talk about that topic, they just won't understand. And you will be like teaching them instead of creating conversation. I know that feeling because I have that feeling once. I'm really bad at math, and I keep having to be friends with someone who's really good at math, and that's really annoying because she just keep talking about math tests while I just don't understand any single thing. So it's best to have someone have the same level, but maybe you two will understand each other, and maybe we could help each other to build our way up. For example, some perfect talking buddy could be your sister, your friends, or your cousin. If they are the same age as you, it's the best, because maybe having a little sister 5 years younger than me is a bit of a problem, because she doesn't understand some words that I study, and I have to keep explaining to her, which is not really fun. I do admit that. Like, it's like when you're having a really cool conversation talking about alien, and then she just suddenly asks you, what does space mean? And it's really annoying. So it's best to have someone at the same age, at the same level as you. So that's the 5 tips of learning learning any language. And I was giving you one more thing before ending this presentation, is that even though if you are able to have a friend to talk with, a tutor to teach you, you are able to feel you are confident and brave to speak a new language. But the most important thing that you need to study every day. So I hope that everyone would be able to use these tips to be able to learn any language you want except English.
Em rửa cái thủy tinh cho con bóng.
Okay, so I have some tips for you.
Sure.
I think that your presentation is cool because give us many ideas in many aspects. But I think that you should talk. You should talk like you should talk slower
Oh yeah,
and
I know.
say the word clearly. You don't
Yes.
have to talk. You don't have to say fast. And I think that saying the word clearly is more important than you can say it fast.
Yes, thank you. So, do
Okay.
you have any question? Yes, and
I think
okay.
just one last one question. I want to in the talking buddy. You
Yes.
only said that how to find a bad talking buddy, but you don't say what is talking buddy.
Okay, so talking buddy. So I'm gonna explain to you what is a talking buddy. The talking buddy is just actually simply means someone to talk with. Like maybe sometimes you need someone to talk with. For example, like because when you grow up, you will have to talk to many people, even native speaking people. So you need someone to practice because you need to learn how to hear. You need to learn how to speak out, how to speak to make all the people listening to understand, and learning how to understand what the other people is talking about. Because in reality, that thing happen every day. You need to tell a message, and you need to learn how to receive the message. If you only talk on your own, you won't be able to practice your receiving message skills, and you won't be able to like respond quickly when you heard when you heard someone speaking to you. Because so a talking buddy is really useful for you to practice speaking, decoding messages, and to receive messages, to understand, and to actively practice your brain to receive different messages. So that's what a talking buddy is.
So thank you. I have no question left.
Okay, so basically, you only have five tips of to become to be able to learn a new language. So I think that the hardest thing to do is to feel brave to make mistake, and to stop using native alphabet when learning a new language, because myself experienced that. For example, I think that maybe some of you have learned French, and it's actually a bit.
Yes, I learned it for fun, for reading some comics or some books,
Yes.
or like some candy brand, you know.
Yes, and I do admit that maybe French is a bit sound. It does sound weird indeed. But and it's hard in grammar and in vocabulary because French has a wide variety of vocabulary. For example, I've learned a bit French, and sometimes French could get a bit confusing because French doesn't relate it to English. English is related to German. French related to Spanish, Portuguese, and some Latin, language in Europe. So English doesn't relate it to French. So some word in English and can have a different meaning in French. For example, the word crayon in English, but in French it means pencil. For example, like that.
Okay.
And maybe I think that maybe learning French is really useful because learning French and English you could be able to be able to go to Canada. Well, actually, that's actually one of my dreams to go to Canada. But I think that if you're able to feel brave, to feel confident, to make mistake, break your native language database, and to stop using native alphabet when learning a new language, then I believe that you and the rest find a tutor, having shower conversation, and finding a talking buddy to talk with is actually really easy. You just need to take some time to go out with friends and some time for yourself just to speak a new language. The first and the second one is difficult because it depends on you. Depends on if you want to learn a new language, if you're willing to make mistake and to be confident to speak a new language, that's the thing that is really difficult. But if you're able to do that, and I believe you can speak as many language as you want.